Hi, my name is Sunny and welcome to my channel Sunny Starlight. Before we start, let me just ask everyone to join in and offer our condolences and sympathies to a fellow YouTuber and my friend Melanie from the Pardesi channel, who's just lost her father. Our prayers are with you, that we hope you get the strength to get through this difficult period of time. So we wish you well, Melanie, and we hope to see you back fairly soon. Now, next I'd like to thank everybody who's subscribed in the last week or so. And I've had 150 odd new subscribers, and I've reached the 300 subscriber mark. So let's keep this Starlight family growing even more, and I'm glad you're enjoying the content. I will be having some more guests fairly soon as well, so hopefully you'll keep finding something new and that you like, and just keep telling everybody about this channel. So please like, share and subscribe and tell all your friends, and don't forget to leave comments, because I'm loving some of the comments that you guys are leaving behind. So thank you ever so much, and hopefully we'll grow even bigger. So today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Kalank, which I saw last night, and I had to give myself some time to actually just digest everything that I'd seen. And you know, this review could take a long time, just as long as the movie, 2 hours and 45 minutes, because I have a lot to say about it. One of the first things that I'm going to say is that this film reminds me so much of a David Lean film, because it's exactly the same kind of sort of grandeur, the epicness, the kind of length of the film, and the slow burning story. And the very particular film that it reminds me of is Ryan's Daughter, which was a failure at the box office at the time, but has become a bit of a cult classic. It had this huge star cast list of Robert Mitchum, Sarah Miles, John Mills, Trevor Howard, Leo McKern, and John Mills did actually win an Oscar for that role as well. So the story was almost similar to Ryan's Daughter, where a married woman falls for another guy. So, you know, it very much reminded me of this David Lean film. And I think the criticism that most audiences have been giving Kalank, which I've read, is that it's too long, it's too lengthy. So yes, I do agree that it's too long, but I'm quite used to that kind of pace and that film, because as I said, I enjoyed Ryan's Daughter, and once you sort of settle down, I think you kind of sort of go with the flow and the ride, because it's a slow burning ride. I think most of the audiences now sort of expect something, you know, like fireworks, or, you know, a fast-paced movie where, you know, the story just moves on and on and on. So this is a very old-fashioned kind of story. Almost, if you watch any of the old black and white Bollywood films, the really, really old ones, where there was this love between a man and a woman, and all they did was gaze into each other's eyes. Here it was a little bit different, because they had a lot of sort of exchange of dialogue. There was this underlying tension between the two of them, but I just wish there was a little bit more of this tension to make it a little bit more of an epic love story. We all know that Varun, Dhawan and Alia Bhatt have this great chemistry on screen, because they've done so many films since their debut in Student of the Year, where they were paired opposite each other. And so, you know, that I felt very comfortable about. But I just felt that it could have used a little bit more electricity to give that sort of oomph, you know, in this kind of love story. And all it is basically a love story, because they've missed an opportunity, a massive opportunity here, because they had it set against the backdrop of the partition period in the 1940s. And what I felt was that they could have set this story any time, because I did not get the feel of the 1940s at all from this film, because there were no white people at all, because the British were still very much there, so we didn't see a single white person. Secondly, the partition part of the story was very peripheral, almost sort of like around the edges, and you know, it didn't sort of incorporate it into the fabric of the whole film. Because it was all around them. I mean, yes, they did try and bring it in, and there were sort of references, but not on the whole, as it could have been sort of seeped into that kind of world. And also, I didn't get the feel with the kind of the costumes and the architecture, because the costumes were designed by the most famous Indian designer, Manish Malhotra, who actually designs for Karan Johar and most of his films. So it didn't give me the 1940s film. So it could have been set any time. It could have been set in modern day, and I would have been okay with that. So yeah, I didn't get that historical feeling. But what I did like was the visuals. I mean, the costume designs were absolutely brilliant. The set designs were brilliant, and we saw all of that in the actual trailer and some promos and the songs. And let me tell you that do not expect a kind of Sanjay Leela Bansali film like Padmavat or any other film where each shot is framed so beautifully like a painting. I mean, you don't get that same feeling with this film, even though the visuals are very, very good. But we've seen all of those in the trailer. So, it just didn't sort of give me that feel for it. But I did love this film because, as I said, most people have complained that it's a very slow burning, a stretched out film. Yes, it could have done with less of the film. They could have chopped it by half an hour. But, I'm used to that kind of slow burning film, and I think I enjoyed it to a certain degree. So when we saw the trailer, we actually saw these characters, no dialogue, and we were quite sort of puzzled about the relationships and what the story was going to be about. And let me tell you, as soon as the film started with the credits opening, bang, 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 we're introduced to these characters, and the relationships are kind of established fairly quickly without any backstory. So I think we kind of sort of missed out on that because the middle portion after that was just Varun and Alia, their sort of exchange and their sort of chemistry together, and it was kind of dragged out a little bit. But they could have sort of paced it and revealed layer by layer by layer, where each person's backstory or the relationship is revealed as part of a mystery, if you like. But they just sort of introduced the characters, bang, and I thought, yeah, great, this is going to be so packed of stuff, because if they've done that in the first sort of 20 minutes, then it's going to have so much more to say. But unfortunately, it didn't. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. What I did find was that the film in the last half hour really took off, and that's when I started connecting with the characters, and I felt very emotional by the end of it for some reason. I don't know why, but that's when I felt that, yeah, this movie, if it had all of that it had in the last half hour, the kind of tension building, the sort of edge of your seat kind of thing, or the epicness of the love story, then yeah, that might have been a good film in itself. I mean, it's not a bad film. It's a good film. It has its flaws, and I think having 6 characters in this film would give you ample sort of backstory or unveiling each character. But unfortunately, they didn't spend enough time on each of the characters. And let me tell you, one of the things that shocked me as soon as the film started was when the credits came up and they said that Sanjay Dutt was actually a special appearance. So suddenly I thought, well, hang on a minute, he's actually part of the posters and the campaign for the promotion. So I thought he was a prominent part of the film. Unfortunately, he was not, because his role was very, very small. It didn't have the same kind of impact that you would have expected from a star like Sanjay Dutt. There was obviously talk of him leaving the film because when he found out that Madhuri Dixit had replaced Sridevi, because they have this sort of history, alleged sort of romance, alleged marriage as well, that he decided to sort of back out, but then he was convinced to go back in again. So what we found was that they didn't have any scenes together except one scene towards the end, and even in that scene we had Varun Dhawan sort of appearing, and there should have been a very good electrifying sort of scene between the three of them, where we find that Madhuri Dixit is just standing there, and she's not involved in all of this. So I found it a little bit jarring that they didn't make full use of these two lead pairs, where they actually sort of have this history, they have this chemistry from the past, and the public are dying to see their interaction. So we didn't get that. Oh, fun fact here, Madhuri Dixit and Sanjay Dutt actually starred in a film called Thanedar, and they had a song called Tamma Tamma. And of course it was recreated by Varun Dhawan and Alia Bhatt in film Badrinath Ki Dulhania, and they did it, and Madhuri Dixit actually choreographed the song. So a little bit of trivia there for you. But getting back to Kalank, the biggest plus point of this film was that the music was just outstanding. We've seen most of the songs, and yeah, the music just went along and along in the background with most of the story. So it was almost like a musical kind of journey of this love story. And you know, personally, I liked all the songs, and I think the songs are very well done, except for one. And I've got the biggest gripe with the director, and I feel like sort of grabbing him by the collar and just slapping him, because the biggest number that everybody's waiting for is the Madhuri Dixit number Taba Ho Gaye. Now, we saw a lot more of this song in the promo, because in the film itself, they decided, instead of just showing you that song, you know, in its full entirety, they decided, no, we're going to have some dialogue in between in the song between two other characters. Then we're going to show somebody else running around in the rain. Why are you doing this? Because we saw more of the full song in the promo, and they chopped it all up. And you know, to make matters worse, I mean, it was just like we were waiting for this huge song and we missed out on it. The saving grace and the biggest part of this song was towards the end, which we didn't see in the promo, where Madhuri Dixit does 30 pirouettes and turns without getting dizzy, all in one shot, and it's a wide shot, so you can see. Amazing to watch. If we had the whole song and then it just sort of peaked into that kind of the pirouettes, and it ended on that, that would have been a cinematic moment, but they completely ruined it. So you know, I would like to sort of slap whoever decided to you know, edit it that way, and say, you've lost a golden opportunity there. You know, you could have shown that whole song in its entirety. Now, the song was probably not needed at that point in time, but because it's Madhuri Dixit, she has to dance, and you know, we were all waiting and anticipating it, and we loved the actual song when the promo came out. So the music is so great. If you watch it in the cinema, if you watch it in the sort of Dolby stereo sort of sound, surround sound, the music, the drums, it just sort of like gets under your skin, and you start sort of, you know, it really makes you enjoy it. So, you know, the tabla, the Indian drums, I mean, they're just fantastic in most of those songs as well. So, yeah, I was disappointed with that one song, and I would really like to sort of like, ugh. Now, coming on to Madhuri Dixit, I mean, they've aged her in this film. Why? Again, why have they aged her? Because she's playing her own real life age, and in real life she looks so stunningly beautiful. I mean, if you saw her film released a couple of months ago, Total Dhamal, I mean, she looks stunning. But in here, they've actually aged her so much, it's just unbelievable. But then I suppose, you know, she's an actor, and you know, if it calls for her to actually age up, then that's fine. But I think, you know, she played the same age as herself in real life, so why they couldn't just leave her as she was, I don't know. They didn't have to sort of make her too old. As I said, none of the stylings of the characters actually sort of fit the 1940s whatsoever. I mean, Sanjay Dutt's hair is almost like a crew cut standing up. But in those days, I mean, they used to have sort of oiled hair, slick partings, and very sort of gelled down, those kind of hairstyles. Varun Dhawan had these sort of flowing locks. You know, it just didn't make sense. So I didn't need the 1940s reference at all, as I said, because they missed a golden opportunity with this partition. You know, we had this partition story. It could have been set any time apart from that, and it would have worked fine. They didn't utilize the partition story all throughout, but it could have been so much more. You know, the tension building and building and building, that, you know, we missed out on that because of this love story, or the staring into each other's eyes from Varun and Alia, which was great. And I think it was all sort of very much one note. All the characters didn't have enough depth. Although all the acting is great, I just feel that Alia was missing her sort of firebrand, sort of like little Miss Cracker, firecracker, or some kind of other additional things. She was very sort of demure, well, not demure, but she was very much sort of on the quiet, which was a nice change. But I just felt like occasionally she could have actually sort of, I mean, they showed her being very feisty in the beginning. That's what I'm saying, that it didn't carry on, that she had the potential to be kind of feisty and rebellious, but she wasn't. So I kind of wish that they'd done that. Varun does impress. I mean, he's the one character that you kind of start watching and you don't really like him much, and his arcs kind of sort of grows, and you kind of sort of then start to relate to him a little bit, and you see why he is the way he is. And so he had the biggest arc in the story. Sonakshi Sinha was very much sort of a minuscule role. She did what she could with it, but it wasn't much. Madhuri Dixit was there pretty much throughout the whole thing, but again, I think she could have had a little bit more sort of dramatic scenes with Sanjay Dutt, but unfortunately they didn't, and they probably had to change the script because of these two in their personal lives in real life. So that was a shame. And of course, ADITYAROY Kapur was very good in what he did, and I think it's nice that we actually saw him after such a long time. So I think one person who will probably appreciate his performance, because I did like his performance, the one person who I know will really appreciate it is Vicky. So Vicky, go and see it just for that. And of course, the surprise package that everybody kind of sort of didn't expect and was not in the promotions or the photos of the posters or anything was Kunal Kemu, who is the brother-in-law of Saif Ali Khan, because he's married to his sister Soha Ali Khan, and he was in this film. I mean, normally we know him from the Golmaal franchise where he does a lot of comedic roles, but in this one he kind of stole the scene for everybody, I think. He stole their thunder. And one of the things that I missed in this film was that it was all very one tone, and we didn't have sort of light and shade in characters or in the script, because we could have done with a comedy or thrown in something light, but it was all so serious all the time. So you just felt like being dragged down. But I've seen films, you see films of Ingmar Bergman, and you think, I'm gonna slash my wrists in a minute. That's how depressing it is. But those films are good because you can't have it all light and fluffy. But I think this film could have done with some light and shade, because it was so long, and there was room for it. And what else can I say about the set design? I mean, the set design was just phenomenal, as you know. They built this fake city with so much detail. So whenever you sort of see a scene, you see a lot of shopkeepers sort of trading. They have these goods, tiniest of the tiniest things. It looked like a real sort of set. So this film, I mean, they spent a lot of money on the sets and the costumes, and it was all great. But it just lacked something. It's almost like, you go to work and you have this slow pot cooker, and you leave all the ingredients in there, and when you come back home, it's cooked slowly, and you come home and you enjoy that meal. Well, for me, I've left the pot and I've come back home and I find that it's slightly overcooked, and it's missing a few of the ingredients that I forgot to put in there. And so it's good, and I'm hungry and I want to eat it, but it's not perfect. That's my summarization of this film. So my Sunny Star rating for this movie out of 5 is going to be 3 stars, and one of the stars is purely because of Madhuri Dixit, and the anticipation of her dance, and I think also Alia and Varun, they did very well. That's my review of Kalank. I enjoyed it to a degree. It's not a perfect film by any means. It could have been a lot better, but I'm not going to be very hard on it, as most people have been from what I've read. But I leave it for you to go and judge for yourself. And you can sort of wait for it to come on Netflix or DVD or whatever. But I would suggest probably sort of going to see it in the cinema, purely because you're not going to get that kind of sound and visuals at home unless you've got a home cinema installed like I have. So yeah, I'll probably catch it again, and dissect it and digest it a little bit more. So till the next time, hope to see you soon. Keep liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you so much for reaching 300. Let's make it 400 soon, and make the Starlight family grow even more. So till the next time, this is Sunny signing out. Take care.